Good afternoon, everybody. How are we doing today? Welcome to the panel Star Trek. Just going to read the description right quick here. Talk about the last 52 years of Star Trek, 6 shows, and the 13 movies. Yes, there will be spoilers for Star Trek Discovery.
If you don't want spoilers for Discovery, you may leave now.
All right, I'm out. See y'all.
Let's start by introducing ourselves. Why don't we start with our left?
I am Stephanie. I'm a Star Trek person and an anthropology student. So when I was in college, they showed us an episode of Star Trek in one of my linguistics classes, and I was like, oh, this is some stuff that I need to look into more, and now I am one of you. One of us. Exactly. Resistance was futile.
I'm Joan Verba, and I've been a Star Trek fan since 1966.
I'm Elizabeth. A lot of fandoms: Star Trek, Star Wars, Marvel, a little bit of everything. So yeah.
My name is Justin Grays. Star Trek was my first fandom. My earliest memories, some of them include Star Trek. It's the first thing I remember watching, the first thing I remember talking about. It has just been part of my life for almost forever.
I'm Tony. I've been a Star Trek fan since the first episode of Voyager. I'm probably one of the few who have seen every single episode, including the movies and the unofficial animated series.
I've seen everything.
I've seen everything. I'd say that the animated series is official again now.
Yeah, I thought it was official.
There's
I
been
thought that cat lady was in charge of stuff.
there's been controversy about that, but they've
Since 2003, so we're all grandfathered in on that one, right? Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, all right, so it's all official.
Wasn't the animated series the official 4th and 5th years of their
Well, yeah, because they didn't get to finish.
5-year mission?
Yeah, that was, yeah.
So, the ending of Discovery, which is quite controversial, but the writers said they needed to do it because they want to either bring Zachary in or they're going to do it as a voice over with Leonard. Of course, for those of you who don't know, the Enterprise shows up at the end of Discovery Season 1.
Nice.
Oh.
That's pretty sexy.
We only hear Pike, because Sarek is actually on Discovery going back home.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So,
we don't hear Pike's voice though.
kind of. Over the intercom.
No, they didn't do that. They said that it's a distress signal. It's garbled. We see some numbers flashing on the communication station. They identify as the Enterprise, and then Michael Burnham and Sarek say that it's Pike's ship.
Yeah.
But we don't get to hear Pike's voice.
Okay.
It would be nice, too, so that we know if they're going to go with Jeffrey Hunter, Bruce Greenwood, or some new guy that we don't know about yet.
But the writers want to bring Spock into it somehow. Is what they're talking about.
Mm.
Well, I'm pretty much always a fan. Like, if you're gonna bring Spock into something, bring Spock into something. Because I mean, the best second edition casting was Zachary Quinto. Like, let's just be for real on how good a Spock that dude was. So yeah,
Yeah,
just more Spock all the time.
The writers didn't know if they could get him.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
But he goes to cons, so it's like if you're Zachary Quinto and you're going to cons, you can like take a minute and do TV shows. Like, calm down, Zachary Quinto.
That or they'll do a holographic version, or they'll do a voiceover with using Leonard.
They like own the image of Spock. Like, just get Spock in there, please. Yes.
Saying they're going to bring Pike into the movies, or
Oh, they're still claiming that it's in the prime timeline. So they have some things to fix.
Well, considering that Jeffrey Hunter's been dead for a long time, wonder how they're going to pull that one off.
Maybe it will be like what we saw for the 30th anniversary of DS9, Trial and Tribulation, something like that.
That would actually be really good.
That would be good.
Yep.
Though at the same time, they will need to be very clear about, because there will be so many people complaining, they're going to need to be very clear about the uniforms.
Well, not only that, and the way the Enterprise looks too. But
I love the way the Enterprise looks now.
the writers said, well, they just got out of war, so they haven't taken off their armor yet, and that's why the Enterprise looks the way it does.
Oh. Yeah, but the Enterprise is more glowy bits than it did in the 1960s.
Well, it's just also like they're both, as I've said before, mired in their own time. So like in the
Yeah.
60s, you can imagine the ships looking the way they are, and now it's like we can imagine that ship looking the way it does because it's just like we have actual tricorders in front of us right now, and they didn't back then. So it's a different situation.
I'm a strong proponent of the soft reboot theory, where it is prime timeline, everything's staying mostly the same, but we are updating a couple things because it's 2018 now. What we had then is severely out of date. We don't use 3.5-inch floppies anymore.
I mean, I still do.
Most of us don't use 3.5-inch floppies anymore.
I just want to play Oregon Trail and be left alone.
They have Oregon Trail with 3.5-inch?
They have an app for that.
Sweet. I gotta find that.
My point.
And they talk about the war that was supposed to already happen, but didn't happen before the said yet, so.
Happened in the 90s.
Yeah, during the Clinton administration.
Yeah, don't you remember that?
The Clinton administration did a very good job covering it up.
Yes.
Well, they did in one of the book series, they had the eugenics wars, and it was more a secret war type of thing. And it was actually very well done. He took contemporary references.
So sort of made it an X-Files style.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the fact that Discovery and the black badges and all the technology might be under Section 31?
Ooh.
I think the black badge is Section 31.
Yeah.
That's me.
Well,
I can't stand Section 31. I didn't like the proponent. Although I love Deep Space Nine and it's one of my favorite treks, I did not like the introduction of Section 31. It goes against all that Gene Roddenberry conceived of Star Trek being, and I hope they don't go there. I understand the fan theories, and it may be true, but I really do hope that they don't go there.
But you have to have a dark side to this proposed greatness and light side that is the Federation. Like, we can't have this beautiful, glorious face without someone doing something shisty, and that's just humanity. Like, we have never proven that we can be good.
There will always be people who will do bad things, but do we have to have a Section 31? I mean, in Star Trek, people did, in the original series, people, when Roddenberry was in charge and when Roddenberry was more or less in charge of Next Generation, people did bad things. That's fine. But they didn't have a Section 31.
But as you get further forward in the Federation, there would be a point where this sort of like tick of humanity to figure out what's going on with everyone else and whether or not everyone else is against us would, I feel like, take over. Like, this is obviously speculative, but this is where I feel like Section 31 came from, is just like humanity not really trusting the others in the tribe that they've tried to create. Like, there's humanity and then there's everyone else, and I'm not sure what everyone else is up to.
I agree, and I also think that Section 31 are the ones who take on the really difficult job. It wouldn't surprise me if they were a huge part in the Klingon Wars. Of course, we got the next big war will be the Romulan War, which is coming. So,
In the Enterprise series, they had hints of Section 31.
Mm-hmm.
Back when, I think, Reed was.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do remember that.
Yep.
About halfway through Discovery, I was really intrigued by Gabriel. I'm like, this guy could really take out Kirk. And then I'm like, if he's Section 31, it would make sense. And then everything just flipped. And
Yeah.
like, wow.
I've been rewatching Discovery, and all those little hints and clues that they gave us that it was Mira Gabriel. Did not see it the first time around.
No.
Just wasn't there.
We have the CIA. Germans have the SS, so it's always been a secret.
There's always a dark underbelly to humanity trying to be good. Like, we always have this weird undercurrent of somebody trying to figure out what other people are doing in a not very good way.
Oh, that's why we also have Starfleet Intelligence too, and Discovery could be part of that as well.
It could be in our ideal intentions.
Yeah.
On top of that, there's the problem is Earth in Star Trek. You know, it's paradise there, so everyone gets to be saints, but they don't see what's happening to the little people who have to live further out on the frontiers. You know, that's why we got the Maquis, because they're the ones who had to live day to day. They don't have everything.
You know, what's on the border to Cardassian didn't necessarily get any help because they chose to be there, so therefore the Federation said, no, you get to do that. You know, you're too close. We're not gonna.
Right. It's like you're human within these set of parameters, and we will defend you within these set of parameters. But the second we remake a deal and you're slightly across the border, we no longer have anything to say for you or about you.
Yeah.
Not unlike Americans who have never traveled outside the United States borders and look at the rest of the world through skewed American lenses.
Prescriptive.
Yeah.
Perception.
But the whole
That's the
idea of this dark side, it was sort of explained, or however you want to say it, in the movie, Dark Richard movie with Admiral Marcus, when he says, who do you think's gonna come and do all this for you? Who's gonna do the dirty work that you don't want to do? And that's the other aspect of what you're talking about, where every government has these secret agencies, the KGB and whatnot.
Yeah.
And in the timeline of Discovery, you know, they're new at being, they're not quite done with the perfect society yet. You know, they're still quite new at it. So you have to remember that they're still coming off of complete population devastation and world devastation. So they're naturally going to be defensive. They're naturally going to want to have something to protect them forward. So it makes sense that that organization would exist.
Yeah,
At the beginning of that time.
I really think that Rod and the rest of the executives and all of the consultants for Discovery, because there's a ton of them. If you look at that X-ray credit scene, which is probably one of the best credit scenes that Star Trek has ever had, I think they really wanted to not only, like Gene has always done, capitalize on what's going on in today's society, but show that Starfleet isn't a happy-go-lucky organization that's been around for the last 4 or 5 centuries.
One of the things that I did like about Discovery, though, is the especially in the later episodes, the continual affirmation that yes, we have ideals and yes, we are going to live up to them. When Tyler, am I saying it right? Tyler came back.
Ash Tyler, Lieutenant
Ash Tyler, yeah, came back from the mirror ship, and Saru greeted him. He says, we are going to try you and we are going to hold you because we have values that we are still Starfleet and we are going to have values. And when the Discovery, which I thought was just a magnificent sequence, when the Discovery went after the Charon, they reaffirmed, look, we are Starfleet. We are going to do this. We stand for something. And then in the very last episode, of course, when Burnham confronts the Admiral, and she says, we are not going to win this war by genocide. We are Starfleet. We stand for something. We are not going to do that. That I liked very much.
That was one hell of a speech.
It was a great speech.
Gave at the ceremony.
Well, I mean, it's the embodiment of Star Trek ideals. Like, you want to be the best version of humanity you possibly can be.
Yeah.
But when the rubber hits the road, how good a human can you actually be?
That's one of the reasons why I hated the JJ reboots, to be honest.
But okay, let me just cut you off.
I love the third one.
They are not attached to a show, so they have no episodic basis to have that moral argument in. And they are trying to sell this to non-nerds for 90 minutes. And let's be for real, Mike from over in Roseville is not gonna fucking come to a Star Trek that's preaching to him.
Yeah.
So it's like J.J. Abrams was just trying to sell you some explosions and space fights. And he got a little bit of the Prime Directive in there, and it was just enough to not annoy the normals. And we're not the normals. So like,
So that's why we get annoyed.
yeah, so like, it's not the best Star Trek has ever been, but it's fun.
Who's doing another one?
Well, there's also though the treatment of Nurse Chapel and Carol Marcus in.
But those were sexy blockbuster ladies. Like, we're not having a story
We
about
didn't see
Dr.
Nurse
Beverly.
Chapel.
What we're talking about? What's the other one?
Carol Marcus.
Yeah, Carol Marcus, sexy Star Trek lady. Like, we're not trying to have a whole story about Carol Marcus and her bra. She's no Beverly Crusher. Like,
True. But Nurse Chapel was just reduced to a sex joke that was a throwaway line.
but she's not even in it.
Not in the movie, no.
Yeah, but it's not attached to a TV show, so why does it matter that she's not in it? Like,
That before, and 7 and 9 doesn't count either. Yeah.
7 of 9 is an excellent character.
Yeah.
And she has like this dichotomy of being like a human who is a Borg and also
But yet
she's
trying
struggling
to,
with
yes,
stuff.
to
Yeah.
understand what her
Just happened to
humanity
get sewn
means.
into her suit.
Well,
Yeah,
that
that
the
was
silly
a
as
problem.
her. It has to be
Yeah.
part of her because it's
Yeah.
like she needs it to survive because she doesn't have skin or whatever.
Yes, and speaking about this subject, one of the things that I noticed right away, and I am so glad that a significant proportion of the writers' room in Star Trek Discovery are women. We do not have women in cat suits.
Yeah.
And in the Discovery universe, thank God, because I was getting really tired, not only tired of 7 of 9, but they put DePaul in a cat suit,
Mhm.
which was illogical.
That didn't
And-
make sense.
And
Well, to
and
Paul's
I am so glad, and this I noticed, this was one of the first things I noticed about Discovery, and I breathed a long sigh of relief.
They have all those underwear scenes in
It's Enterprise, where they're just like in that thing that's
Yeah.
supposed to decontaminate them. Like,
yeah.
it's like, oh, I am uncomfortable right now.
Yeah.
Well, but
Yeah.
What? Speak for yourself.
I'll talk to you later.
But going off of that, when we switched to the Mirror Universe, also they redesigned all of the Mirror Universe costumes.
Yes.
All of a sudden,
I
we
liked
didn't
the
see,
Discovery
like,
Mirror
any-
Universe costumes better.
There weren't any bare
Yes.
midriffs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know. As someone who's like a fan of like wandering around and like wearing my midriff during the summer at cons, like I'm just like, yeah, midriff costumes. I like it. Mirror Universe, you say? And I feel like it's like we want to like over sexualize people like 7 of 9 into Paul, and they were selling sex, yes. But
They
they're
were.
also not bad characters. Like they were
Yeah.
dealing with stuff and they were doing things that didn't have to do with sexy.
See, but part of it for me though is that not only were they were keeping certain people sexy, but not letting other people be able to have the chance to be
But
sexy
sexualized.
or sexualized.
But it's also
So
Give an
they,
example, Justin, who are you talking about? Like, for example, who would you?
let's see, everybody else.
The entire episode with Connor Trudea running around.
Wait, you don't
that
call
was
it
like,
perfect.
I-
That's all right. That is one
That was
exception, but even then, he was wearing a t-shirt and full-on boxers, not wearing,
Well, they were skin tight boxes. Let's just be
they were
I don't know.
but also like
But so in TNG first season and maybe second season, we got to
I
where
know, right?
we got to have men wearing the scant uniforms.
Like there's always
Then
in Star Trek.
it was
on
gone.
Facebook.
So then we get into the Mirror Universe with like Enterprise. Only the women get to have midriffs. None of the men get to. When we revisited the original series eras in DS9 and Enterprise, only the women got to wear mini skirts. None of the men ever got to wear mini skirts.
Shirt off a few times.
Yeah, that's because they were trying to sell it.
But you're selling the same thing. So
Yeah,
Captain Kirk
but-
with his shirt off is selling to women.
Yeah.
What Jadzia Dax in her scant when she goes back in time is selling to men.
But it was also
It's
inconsistent.
a fine line. You're advancing the story.
was-
But then you could advance the story, or you're reflecting of human nature.
It was
We all
very
walk around
inconsistent.
I want
They
to
got
see
to do it to women all the time. They very rarely got to do it with any other gender identities.
But they also
And that was a problem.
wanted to capitalize on a certain age group that they were trying to bring in.
Well,
So
'cause
how
it's-
you do that?
you're
You do that.
You're
Right, young teen
selling.
males.
You're selling to white male nerds, and what do white male nerds want to see? Some Jerry Ryan. Like, let's all be for real. We all want to see more Jerry Ryan. So, like, when you are a person who is trying to make money and tell a story that is about like humanity being better, but you also want to sell sex, like
In
you're
American
gonna,
culture, let's be honest.
yeah, you're still gonna gravitate
You're gonna
towards the
see it.
women being sexier. So you get to Paul, and you get 7 of 9, and debatably Cass, if anyone's paying attention to her. Thank you.
I like Cass, to
Nobody
be
likes
honest.
Cass. Get
I
out.
like
Get
Cass.
out.
No.
So what are you guys thinking then with the Klingon sex scene in Discovery?
I honestly can't remember it very much. I think the trauma of what Ash Tyler was going through when he was discovering that he was Vok more took over that part of my brain where I completely forgot that there was a sex scene with the Klingons.
But also they sexualize Klingons. If we're talking about the Duras sisters, like that's a segue. Like,
They did, yes, with the Duras sisters.
but they're sexy.
I never quite understood
Mhm.
that whole idea when you can just put the dagger right there.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like it's showing off where the heart
Target.
is.
Right
Yeah.
here through
You
my
did a
skin.
part-time job working your birthday.
Right.
I mean-
That's exactly what I always thought. I'm like,
I'm not a big fan of Klingons, and I never have been. I think they're boring.
Oh, what?
But that's my opinion. I'm not saying anybody else has to feel that way. But I
That's
have
totally
to
fair.
say that in the last episode of Discovery, I thought I really enjoyed that scene where L'Rell is talking to the Klingon assembly, and essentially it goes like this. L'Rell stands in front of them and says, you know, it's time for the houses to unite, and you're going to unite under me. And the Klingon assembly goes, ha 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 ha. Then she holds up this detonator, she says, or I will blow us all to kingdom come. Okay, we're behind you all the way, L'Rell.
That's the Klingon 101. You just gotta have the bigger stick.
I did enjoy that.
The
I
other
did
thing
enjoy
bothered
that.
me about the Klingons, without getting into the makeup
The
side
makeup.
of it, is the fact that we had to read so much and we weren't paying attention to what was going on the screen. I know you have a question.
Yeah, I was just wondering if, since you mentioned the Duras sisters, if you heard about the story of Roddenberry when they introduced the Duras sisters to him
What pray tell is the story?
with the costumes, where you were talking about the dagger target.
Uh-huh.
Well, he just sort of, wow, those look really real, Pope.
Did not hear that.
I
No.
mean,
I didn't hear that.
I mean, I like it as a cosplayer. I really like the boob window. But I also think that as Klingons, it would kind of be a point of honor to not get stabbed in the boobs.
Mhm.
Not being stabbed at all would be a Klingon.
Yeah, so it's like you
Under-
have an extra target, and you're just like, come at me, bro.
I wonder if Roddenberry did that to Ricardo Montalban.
Being a Klingon, I can tell you that amongst Klingon fandom, that is largely referred to as battle cleavage. Okay? Because it is a distraction.
It's
okay?
Red Sonja stuff where you're like, hey, I'm wearing a chainmail bikini.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen? You're not paying attention. You just got beheaded by the Duras sisters with their own windows.
Well, you were busy looking up here,
Yeah.
down here.
Yep, we're all talking about it. We're all dead. Sorry.
I wonder if Roddenberry did the same thing to Ricardo Montalban when they were filming Star Trek II.
With his stupid shirts.
Nobody was constantly on set in the original series, kind of adjusting and tweaking the women's scanty costumes.
That can fit in a shoebox.
That's well documented. Yeah.
Mm.
He'd be out there with several complaints on the Me Too movement if he were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Star Trek 2, they didn't look real well.
Yeah.
Are we, you guys know if we're having a Star Trek convention in the city soon?
And I think the closest one has got to be the Creation one in Chicago. I don't think we have them
They
here.
said they're not gonna have that one next year.
How are they gonna?
Creation,
how is
Wizard
Garrett
World
Wayne
is
gonna
having
make
massive
money?
problems. So if you want your Star
With
Trek,
Twitter.
you're gonna have to go to Vegas.
Vegas is good.
Like, okay, here's the thing about those cons. They could still have those cons going, but those cons were such a racket that even the fans are getting sick of it, and we all go to see each other.
Mhm.
We'll pay for Garrett Wang to be able to keep coming to these cons so that we can all hang out together. And the fact that Creation didn't see that is Creation's own
They were,
problem.
Yeah.
They were a for-profit organization.
Yeah.
As opposed to
Yeah, they 100% are. Like, as someone who has gone to their Star Trek cons, their Xena cons, like, it is infuriating to sit through creation stuff because you're just like, I could be anywhere else right now and not hemorrhaging goddamn money to hang out with these people. So, so I have strong feelings about creation.
Here, when they came here 2 years ago for the 50th, I heard some comments from the creation people like, oh, there's not that many people here.
Well, no, and like knowing some of the people that work at creation who are like good people who work for this shit company, I'm like, I really like you and like let's hang out, but like, what the fuck's going on?
In their latest email for this year's Las Vegas convention, they already have over 100 guests. They're always promoting over 100 guests. But they have now guaranteed everybody who buys a ticket will have a spot in their main stage, guaranteed without waiting in line.
Which they've always done. Like, that's not new creation.
It's over like $1,500 for the week.
Yeah, it's ridiculously expensive. You pay to get in, then you pay to go in to see them, then you pay up the butt to get the autograph, pay up the butt to get into take a picture with them in a separate area, and you can't take your own pictures.
Like, honestly, guys, go on the Star Trek cruise because they're all trapped on that fucking boat with you. Like, I've been on that cruise, and like I had a lovely conversation with Q. I like made a joke to like Jadzia Dax, and she like laughed at it, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna. So like, go on this cruise. All the food's included. You're trapped on the boat. You'll talk to one of them, and it's better than creation.
How many actors are on?
There was, I want to say like at least 30 last time. So it's like you're losing a couple people, but you don't have to be in a Vegas casino that smells like smoke.
The two largest fan-run Star Trek cons that I know of are both on the East Coast. They're Farpoint and Shore Leave.
What about Kirby's in
Will that be in the Midwest, Indiana?
Yeah, that's not that big of an issue.
Okay.
And they, I'm trying to think who they had. O'Reilly. He's cool.
Awesome.
I don't know what was on your agenda, but I was wondering what people think about this, what's going on with the Star Trek story doesn't seem to be being advanced. We keep going back and doing these prequels and the past, and I'm really waiting for, I really wish this newest, I'm glad there's Trek. No, I believe there's no, all Trek is good Trek, but I would like to see something new and going forward in the future and not keep going in the back. Like, there's no imagination, there's no...
I think the tragedy of that is that our actual society hasn't advanced that much, so we have to keep telling the same story.
Yeah.
I also think they're looking for the next trio.
The
next trio, you know, Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, they're trying to find that, so they keep going back. And that's why JJ decided to do the reboot.
And part of it for me, I think, is that with the way everything in the world's going right now, everything in the United States is going right now, Deep Space Nine is so super relevant still that when they did try to go forwards, there was a lot of negative feedback. And so they decided to go back to the beginning and start over to see what they're doing and try again.
They had the 29th century on Enterprise. They also had the USS Time Ship, and I think there was Voyager.
It was in Voyager, yeah. The USS Relativity.
Relativity, yeah.
But like neither of those really touched on like the cultural changes, and I think Star Trek is so much about like the cultural sort of.
Honestly, I think the Orville did better with dealing with people from the future and having cultural changes.
Well, because it speaks to us as the assholes we are now.
Yes.
While also speaking to us as the people that we would like to be. Like, I feel like the Orville did that really well. Like, we don't really want to think of ourselves as complete dicks. But like, we're kind of terrible.
We are terrible.
What do you guys think of the new take on the Orions? Different colored.
I'm hoping that it was just lighting for the different colors.
Just because we're on Kronos with them?
Yeah, in a poorly lit room on Kronos. Other than that,
What color? I haven't seen this.
It was like a lighter green than normal.
on the other hand, yeah. On the other hand, though, it was more green than the Orions were in the animated series. So
we don't know. Do we know a ton about the culture? I mean, like our culture, people come in all shades.
Well, that's also the thing about Star Trek overall. Like, we see the like Andorians and the dudes with the little like who are blue, who have this little thing.
The Bullions.
The Bullions, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like the exact same shade of blue to like an outside observer.
So monolithic.
But like, if you were like an Andorian looking at another Andorian, you'd be like, they're the wrong color blue.
Right.
And like, that's the thing. It's like when Andorians call us pink skins, are they saying me and Justin as a pink skin and then he's a pink skin and this dude right here is a pink skin? Like, are we all pink to them because that's how they see us?
I really would have loved to see an episode of Enterprise where Tran calls the humans pink skins and all of the humans in the rooms are persons of color.
Yeah. Right? Like, we're all within this like spectrum that they see as pink skins.
Yeah.
But we're like, no, we're not pink. We're not pink.
Yeah.
Like,
Maybe black on the right side.
Yeah.
Maybe
It's-
Orions have the same thing going, that they're just different shades.
And it's just
Yeah.
like you as an other can't perceive their level of difference and nuance.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of differences, I did not recognize the Discovery Tellarite until somebody pointed it out to me. It did not look anything like the Tellarite in the original series. Now, I know that the makeup has advanced and it's going to look a little different, but it looked... I didn't see... I mean, I can see Andorians.
The ones, they look kind of like pigs with beards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're very quick and they're always with the Andorians.
Yep.
So the in the
In Discovery in the Mirror Universe, when they had that, when Tyler and Burnham went down for that meeting, there was a Tellarite in that room. That had to be explained to me, but there was a Tellarite in that room.
Okay. Well, it's the same with we talk about maybe with the Klingons. They keep redoing
Yes.
the Klingons.
Yeah.
That was exactly what I was going to mention with the Klingons and the different shape. And I remember once talking to Rod about that because, you know, when Deep Space Nine, Worf goes, we don't talk about it because the difference between the ridges and the straight foreheads or the clear foreheads or whatever. But Rod had said at one point that his dad and some of the other producers were talking about, well, you know, how humans are dark and light, you know, North Continent, South Continent, you know, maybe the flathead Klingons were from like the North Continent and then the ridged ones were from the South Continent or from Africa or something like that. And then Worf comes in and says, we don't talk about it.
That's why some people think that's why we haven't seen no rich Klingons in Discovery yet, because they're from a different part of Kronos.
Oh, like, what are
I think they're
Klingons?
just
That doesn't
back
make
when
sense.
they tried.
I prefer what we did in the 70s and 80s. We ignored it. We knew it was a makeup and budgetary thing and said, we'll just imagine that this is how they looked beforehand because we just couldn't do that. And end of story. That was so perfect for
But
me.
then you stop changing them.
Yeah, well, you know.
The other thing I found really interesting about Discovery is we really haven't met the bridge crew yet. We've seen bits and pieces,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we don't really know who any of them are.
Yeah, we've got random communications man, as Harry Mudd
I
said.
loved that. That was so beautiful.
In fact, in the final episode, they did a behind-the-scenes picture, and it says this is a bridge crew of the Discovery, and we only know about 3 or 4 of them out of the 8.
Yeah.
Who the hell is Robot Lady? Who is she and what is her story?
That's Ensign Kim.
Arium has been identified as an enhanced human. I don't know what that means, but that's what the copy says when they describe it. That's all.
And
I want to know what happened to the redhead, who does have a name, and I forgot her name.
Right?
No, the other redhead. The one who was on
With her eyes all
the Shinzo with, because when she was on the Shinzo, her eyes were fine. She didn't have that metal in her head, and her head wasn't shaved. And now it is her head shaved. She has the metal on the side of her head, and one of her eyes has no pupil anymore.
Maybe something happened during the explosion.
I want some story on that.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Maybe that's a future episode.
Hopefully. I would love more lower decks. I want more lower
flashback
decks.
kind of thing, yeah.
But I think besides Michael, a lot of people are relating to Tilly the most. Everybody
Tilly
loves
is
Tilly.
so awesome, and she is precious, and we should all listen to her always.
And I was so disappointed that that Dr. Hugh Colbert is
Hugh.
died.
Yeah.
Even though they keep telling us he's going to come back, and the actor says he's going to come back, and the writers say he's going to come back, I still was not happy with that development. I sort of hoped that he would be
It was a shock.
a regular.
Like, he's
It
not
was a
Rex.
shock.
What happened?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Thinking of Hugh and whatnot, do you guys know about the whole thing with Ichab and all that backstory with once they got home and whatnot? I talked to Manu and Jeremy a little bit, and he did there was a whole separate movie that was done, and what was done to Ichab once he arrived back home.
Like a fan film?
I don't know if it was a fan. It was
because
a fan
Manu
film or
is
if it
in
was.
so many things. Where
Yeah,
it's
he.
like, what are you
I
doing
wish I
right
could
now?
remember the name of the movie, but it's like basically Starfleet intelligence. Once Voyager gets back home, they take Ichab and do stuff to him, and royally.
Wasn't that in some of the books?
Well, because was it part of there was the thing that came out like a couple years, the one with Captain Lexa Singh. Anyone? No?
I can't remember what it was.
Everyone's like,
do you know what I'm talking about? No. Oh crap. Yeah, because he came to MantaCon a couple years ago, and he was talking about that and his new project that he's got going on, and I just wish I could remember.
I feel like we're talking about the same thing, but like
Probably,
not.
I'm just not remembering it closely, but I remember talking to him about this and or Ichab. Yeah, Starfleet basically got a hold of him and just kind of.
Yeah, well, because it was like he was like whatever show I was watching was like the one with Captain Lexa Singh, which is Adrian Wilkinson, who also played a video game character for Star Wars. If you're a fan of that. So it's like he was part of this other crew that was part of like the Singh family, and so it's like he's been so much this little ticking hand in the Star Trek universe that is the non-Roddenberry, the fan half of the universe, which honestly I am just fascinated by, like the fan stuff that people are doing. So like not even like the low budget fan stuff, but the things that are as high as the Orville, like the way we are consuming Star Trek as people who are trying to tell a Star Trek story outside of Star Trek.
Yeah.
I think that is a fascinating thing.
With the 25th anniversary of DS9, they got everybody back together, and they're putting out a documentary called "What We Left Behind," which is a look at the last 7 years and what they would have done had season 8 gone on. So that's coming out.
Oh, Star Trek
in
Renegades.
That's it.
Renegades.
Renegades. Yes.
I haven't gotten around to watching that
It's
yet.
not
I got to
very
do that.
good, but like, sit through it if you have time. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry to
So my point was maybe what happened to Hugh could have been what happened to Ichab. Section 31 may have gotten to him.
Dark side of science.
The dark side of science, yeah.
Do we know anything about the next Star Trek movie, or is it 9 stages, or
Coming out.
script, or what do we know about it?
Is JJ still doing that?
JJ is got number 4 coming out. They're going to bring back George, is what they're talking about. George Kirk is coming back for the next one. And that's all they've said. They really don't have any timeline. I think CBS is watching Discovery, and since that already has been renewed for season 2, we don't know when we're going to see Star Trek back at the movies yet.
It would be really cool if they were trying to tie movies into the Discovery universe, as they once did.
They do it separately because they don't want to put it the two apart.
They do, but like the thing that made, in the past, I feel like Star Trek movies were successful because they had the basis of the shows, and this time in the JJ world, they just did it away from the shows. Like they had no show to base it on, so it's like the true fans couldn't get as into it as lay people, but they need to like marry those two worlds of being able to get lay people into it and kind of pay fan service to us.
Yeah, because they're action movies. They're basically action.
They are, and it's like I love a good action movie and I love space fights,
Yeah.
but they also need to sell us a little bit of the prime directive.
I wonder what they're going to do.
Star Trek's so wonderful.
Yeah, I wonder what they're going to do. Since Anton Yelchin has died.
Well, I mean, he's also trolled.
I've been told that they're not going to bring him back because of out of respect for the actor.
Yeah, but that means they need to replace the navigator. I, for one, hope they bring back Lieutenant Darwin.
Unpopular opinion, I don't think Anton Yelchin was that special.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that he was
will
Chekhov.
not Recast Chekhov.
I think they should.
That's what I'm
recast
saying, that
Chekhov. I think
I
should
hope they
recast
bring-
the Troll Hunter.
They'll have to do something. That's a lot
Bring
of
Lieutenant
money.
Darwin, since they already had her in Into Darkness. Lieutenant Erickson from the animated series would be cool too, but I would like them to shake things up a bit and
Well, they could
have another female on the cast, another person of color on the
They could
cast.
100% go nobody we've ever heard of before.
Yeah,
and
that would be an interesting thing, because when they put Chekhov on there, that was a controversial thing at the time.
Yeah.
So what if they just say, Chekhov has been transferred to another ship, and now we're going to bring in, say, a Muslim woman?
Oh, that would be sick. But like,
Because that's
is
the
America.
but that's the controversial.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because that was Cold War then. This is the controversial character now, or something similar.
But he was at the end.
though, because to me, the J.J. Abrams movies are not
They're not
that
controversial.
forward-looking.
Yeah.
I'm
It's a
looking
blockbuster.
at
You're
the
selling
world.
to everybody.
I had to steel myself to go see those.
Right.
Because I'm old. I remember when the first
Mm-hmm.
one actually was on the air.
Uh-huh.
And my dad actually let me watch a sci-fi show and stay awake.
Yeah.
And
Well, I grew up watching them too.
so, right?
Yeah.
Combat.
Well,
I don't think he's interested in that. He
Yeah,
was just
I
kind of
suppose,
like
yeah.
partially.
Well,
We're
then
gonna
let's
use actual Trek.
just use Lieutenant Darwin, since she was already in the entirety of Into Darkness. She is an established JJ Star Trek character.
Which one is that?
She was the bald black woman who sat in navigation throughout Into Darkness while Chekhov was a red shirts. Yes.
I was not paying attention to that movie.
Yeah. She is the one who took over navigation while Chekhov was in engineering.
In the
you know.
engineering section,
Well, he's
yeah.
running, but he's like running through engineering. Do we see who's at the helm?
Yes, we do.
Yes, a couple of times.
Several times.
Oh, I am sorry, everybody. I have not watched it well.
What was her name?
Yeah, Lieutenant Darwin.
Lieutenant Darwin. Okay.
Easy solution, have William Shatner do a little scene as an 85-year-old Kirk waking up and going, wow, that was a hell of a dream.
That's like the second Marvel thing of the movie is just always Kirk.
But
That was
Kirk
a hell-
died in Generations.
Oh, don't
How did he do
comment
that?
Kirk like that.
Yes, he did.
No, dude.
That was a dumb death, though, in my opinion. In my opinion, that was a dumb death.
Generations.
Apparently,
Yeah.
William Shatner is open to being in Discovery, although I'm not sure how they're going to pull that
William
off.
Shatner is up for anything that will make William Shatner some money. Like,
True.
like I
Money or stupid?
I like William Shatner as like a general like entity, but like sometimes I sit through William Shatner saying stuff and I'm just like, William fucking Shatner. Like, are you
Uh-huh.
kidding me right now?
Please, yes.
He's on conventions, he's always talking about his next project or.
And you're like, this does not sound like a good project.
That sounds like the
nobody
Shat.
cares.
Yeah.
It's the Shat.
But better late than never was good.
I do like his studio albums that have been coming out as of late, though.
He had a line of watches or something that he was talking about.
He did a documentary about.
guys, so thank you.
We have about 3
Thank
minutes
you.
left here.
He did a documentary about Xena fandom that I am like still salty he hasn't actually released because I've talked to like multiple people who are like Xena stars who are like, yeah, I did that interview with William Shatner. I'm just like, what the fuck? Pardon me. Oh,
Nice.
In Iowa.
Invasion Isle. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this was like a.
No,
That's what he did.
yeah.
Yeah, he did a documentary on
Yeah.
Star Trek in Iowa, where he went, brought a whole crew and,
Well, I
and did
mean,
an impromptu.
in
Yeah.
Kirk's hometown, like that makes sense. But this was just
They
like I
did
just
that
wanted to
series.
see that stuff. Yeah. That's just me. Xena or Xena.
You know, William Shatner is a host of the TV series on 217, the Rescue 911.
I remember Rescue 911.
That's on
That
Monday
was a
to
show.
Friday, Channel 217.
And I think they're playing TJ Hooker on some other.
That was such a wonderfully terrible show.
It's just so
It's like perfectly terrible. William Shatner. Perfectly terrible.